to trade. However, my personal preference is 40 days. Why is that? Well, because the more information you have about the shorter cycles, the more accurately you can time your entries and exits into your trade. Okay, and an example is going to demonstrate that to you. The important thing to bear in mind when you sit down with Sentient Trader or sit down with a piece of paper, a graph paper and a pencil, and you decide you're going to start trading according to Hurst cyclic principles, the important thing to bear in mind is that it's all about time. It's all about those cycles moving in time, and they constantly move. Some people have sent me emails a week or two after I've written an ST Outlook perhaps, and they've said to me, oh, but you said the market was going up and now it started going down. It's always very important that as time passes, the decisions that you make become invalid. So you've got to make decisions for today. Okay, and the other thing that's really important to realize is that the markets aren't always in the perfect position to be traded. Just because you sat down today and decided that you wanted to enter a trade does not necessarily mean that there's a suitable trade for you to enter. And that can be very frustrating, I know, for people who trade intraday, particularly on a Monday morning. Monday mornings are very difficult to trade intraday because you need to see what's happening in the cycles. You've got to wait. I know for Australians it's very frustrating because if you're trading the forex markets, you have to wait 7 or 8 hours, I believe, before you have any idea what's happening to the intraday cycles. And so you can't. So Mondays, as an Australian, are a really difficult time to trade if you're trading forex. Anyway, here we are. I'm digressing a little bit. Here we are. We're trading using the analyst edition of Sentient Trader. So in other words, we're going to use the analysis that has been produced, and we're going to start making trading decisions. So I'm going to initially choose the 40-day cycle, because the 40-day cycle gets me in and out of a trade roughly every 3 weeks, very roughly, and there's quite a lot of information available for the shorter cycles. So Sentient Trader has performed an analysis. We've taken a look at it. I believe it's a viable analysis. I think it looks like a pretty good analysis. So now let's start making trading decisions. Well, the first thing you have to decide, of course, is what cycle you're going to trade. I want to trade the 40-day cycle. So what's happening with the 40-day cycle? Okay, you can see, and I'm going to draw all over this chart and demonstrate it to you. You can see that the most recent day cycle was where there is placed a diamond, a blue diamond, which represents the 40-day cycle, and you will see there it is. On the 7th of March, there was a trough of the 40-day cycle. Okay. Since then, the 40-day cycle has been expected to move price up and then move price down again, and the 40-day cycle is expected to form a trough again where that little circle is. Where is that little circle? That little circle happens to be today. All right. So that means that we're expecting the 40-day cycle to form a trough today, after which the 40-day cycle is going to bounce back up again and bounce out. Okay. So now we're trading the 40-day cycle. What is the 40-day cycle currently doing? Well, if you have a look at the Hurst cycle synopsis that's available to you at the top left-hand side of your chart, if you've chosen to present it, it's in your options. You can choose to show it or not to show it. If we read that Hurst cycle synopsis, that tells us that the 40-day cycle is falling. In other words, price is presently being pushed downwards by the 40-day cycle. It's falling from a peak on the 27th of March at a level of 14.19. I think that's over there, and it's been falling since then, and it's falling down to a trough at the moment, which is expected in the range 13.24 to 14.07. So we're in that range already. Okay, that last close price is just under 13.60, 13.57. Okay. Then, according to the Hurst cycle synopsis, price is expected to rise. It tells us from a possible trough which occurred on the 10th of April. So it is possible that that trough occurred yesterday, okay, at a level of 13.52. But it's only possible. Right. Now, we're going to start making some trading decisions. Now, we're trading the 40-day cycle. So according to our Hurst cycle synopsis, the price is expected to rise. Okay. So first things first, the 40-day cycle is presently falling. Can I enter a short trade? No. It's too late, okay? It's much too late. This cycle is about to form a trough. It's much too late. I'm sure everybody can see that. I don't need to explain that. It's too late to enter a short trade, all right? So what the cycle is presently doing, it's too late for you to trade it. What you need to always be looking at is what is the cycle going to do next, okay? So if the cycle is currently falling, then you need to be thinking about going long, in other words, buying. Okay, so that probably makes sense to most people, that this cycle is presently falling and it's about to turn around and go up. Now, a colleague of mine did exactly this and jumped in yesterday on the basis that that 40-day cycle had occurred. But now there's several other steps that you need to consider before entering the trade. Okay, and they all have to do with the other cycles. And it's not complicated, but what you have to do is you have to keep in your mind an awareness of what all the cycles are doing. So we've looked at our cycle, the 40-day cycle, and we've said the 40-day cycle is about to form a trough and it's about to bounce up. So I want to buy it, okay? But you've got to take a step back and say, hang on a moment, do I want to buy it? The question about whether you do want to buy the 40-day cycle move has to do with those other cycles. So let's see what the other cycles are doing and how those other cycles are impacting what is about to happen. So let's be very clear about this. What are we thinking of doing? And when you're going to make a trade on the basis of cyclic principles, it's very important that you're very clear that you understand what you are trading. Trading can be a very emotional process, and it's very important to take all the emotion out and to be very clear. Okay? I know that the 40-day cycle has been going up and it's now coming down and it's about to form a trough somewhere over here. After it's formed that trough, the 40-day cycle is going to bounce back up again and it's going to cause prices to rise up. They're going to peak and they're going to come down again. Okay? It's a constant, never-ending process, these cycles. Up, down, okay? So because it's about to bounce up, I'm thinking of buying. Okay, so now when would I buy? Well, first of all, I am buying on the basis of the fact that the 40-day cycle has formed this trough. Okay, I think we're going to be drawing a diamond under there at some point soon. Okay, now if the cycle is still moving down and there's no evidence that that trough has been formed, then you've got into the market too early. Okay. What you've got to do is you've got to wait until there is evidence that that trough has formed. Okay? You mustn't just buy today because you think a trough is due. You've got to wait until there's some evidence that trough has formed. You must never forget Hurst's principle of variation, which states that the wavelength of cycles is variable. Okay? And as you can see from this circle and whiskers at the bottom of your chart, this trough could occur as much as in a week's time. Okay, so if you're buying on the basis that the 40-day cycle is moving up again, then you must wait until there is some evidence that that trough has been formed. Now, there are two pieces of evidence that we use using Hurst's cyclic principles. Those are the FLD and the VTL, and we're going to take a look at them in a moment. Many people say to me, can I use other evidence? Well, yes, of course you can. If you watch stochastics, then use your stochastics to look for evidence of the formation of a trough. All right? But speaking today purely about Hurst cyclic principles, we need to wait until there's some evidence in Hurst cyclic principle sort of realm that a trough has been formed. Okay? We need to be very clear what we're doing. We are entering a long trade because the 40-day cycle is going to be causing prices to rise. Yes, the 40-day cycle is indisputably going to be causing prices to rise after the trough has formed. But what is very, very important and what must never be forgotten is what are all the other cycles doing? Okay? In particular, when you're considering trading, what are the longer cycles doing? Okay? And why are the longer cycles important? Well, because the longer cycles press down on the shorter cycles, if you like. They form the bigger picture. Okay, so let's take a step back again, and let's take a look at what's happening in terms of, let's go all the way out to here. Okay, let's take a look at what these longer cycles are doing. I'm going to plot my semicircles, because one of the easiest ways of visualizing longer cycles is by plotting the semicircles. I'm going to show you another way in a moment. But I find the semicircles very, very useful for showing what the longer cycles are doing. So, what are these longer cycles doing right now? And by right now, I mean right here at the right-hand edge of this chart. Okay, you can tell very easily what the longer cycles are doing simply by looking at what their semicircle is doing. Now, as you can see, the 54-month cycle is doing that at the moment. I hope you can all see that. It's doing that. Okay, it's pushing down. It's not lifting up. It's pushing down. The 54-month cycle is pushing down. Okay, what about the 18-month cycle? Okay, the 18-month cycle is round about over there. The 18-month cycle is pushing up, but very little. In fact, I'd say it's pretty much going flat. We'll give it the benefit of the doubt and we'll say it's pushing up slightly. So the 18-month cycle is pushing up slightly, but it's pretty much going flat. Okay. What about the 40-week cycle? You see I'm stepping down through all the cycles. What about the 40-week cycle? The 40-week cycle, you can see over here, is pushing down quite hard. Okay. So we've got the 54-month cycle pushing down. The 18-month cycle pushing up, but not very hard. The 40-week cycle is pushing down. Okay, I now need to change the scale of my chart so that I can see what the shorter cycles are doing. Okay, let's stick with these semicircles because they're still legible at this point. Okay, so just a reminder, 54-month cycle down, 18-month cycle up, 40-week cycle down. What about the 20-week cycle? Well, the 20-week cycle, and we draw a little dashed line down here, is going up. Okay, so we've got an upward arrow there for the 20-week cycle. What about the 80-day cycle? Now, the 80-day cycle is at a peak, and over the course of our trade, which is over the next 40 days, remember, okay, the 80-day cycle is going to be pushing. Okay, so that's the downward pressure. So, when you're considering taking a trade in the 40-day cycle, you need to look at the